Welcome to my third live book reading of Ernie Gonzalez, The Determined Dreamer. So I hope you guys are well. I hope you had a great holiday weekend and that you stayed safe, but you managed to enjoy some of the lovely sunshine. I know I did. I was lucky enough to have a garden and have a barbecue in my garden. So yeah, that was really beautiful. And a couple of walks, which I hope you guys managed to get some nice exercise. So thank you for joining me for my third book reading. So if you've managed to do all three, well done to you. So first, I just want to say a big hello to two little people who I know have been watching for all three book readings, faithfully watching. So that's Josh and Zara. So hi guys. Okay, these guys are good friends of mine. I just want to thank them for supporting me and being such big Ernie fans, which I know you are. So yeah, I have had some brilliant work in from my last activity. So I'm really excited to share with you. But first of all, let me just tell you what we're going to be doing this week. This week. So I will be sharing with you, as I said, someone's work. But I did have a lot of different people's work come in, so it was hard to choose which one to share. So well done to everyone who sent their work in. But I will be reading the third chapter from my book, which is called A Cunning Plan. Slightly shorter chapter this week, so maybe we'll have a bit more time to chat. And I will also be sharing with you another awesome author tip and setting another activity. So first of all, let's get on with reading someone's work. So this person is called Jinhan and it's her work. So I hope, Jinhan, I hope you're watching. If you are, so hi and well done. So do you remember last week, the second book reading, I read Dreams of Olive Garden, and I set you an activity where you had to write a letter as if you were Ernie back to your family, persuading them or trying to convince them why your dream was so special to you and why you felt such a need to go after it and go and find it, and also why you felt that it would be great for them to join you. So this is a great example of a persuasive writing piece. So she has written, "Dear family, I am writing to you because I want all of you to come with me to the Olive Garden and start a new lovely life." Brilliant introduction. "Mama, you do a very good job at cooking, but I know you would like the life better in the Olive Garden because there will be more things to cook, and you could make the legendary soup of strawberries and grapes." Gosh, I love the sound of that soup, strawberries and grapes. I wonder if it'll be hot or cold. They do have cold soup in Spain. I wonder if any of you have had it. Anyway, brothers, I know you would love the Olive Garden just like Mama, because there is a boxing ring following with a tennis court, and just as you like it, there would be hard stone floor. Not sure why it smells like hard stone floor, but that's good creative imagination. Sisters, everyone knows that our oldest sister has been stepped on. Oh dear. And we're all very sad. But in the Olive Garden, there will be no one and no risk. There'll be no people and no risk of getting hurt. There will be a karaoke station as well as people will watch you sing. Wow. Great reason to go to the Olive Garden if you like karaoke. By going as a family, we will show other families how nice and what a good life we will have in the Olive Garden. So well done. I love how she put an introduction in the beginning of her letter, and then she wrote something for each different groups of people in her family. So her mom, her brothers, and her sisters, and she found reasons for each of them why they would like it. So she appealed to each of them individually, and then she concluded the letter by saying, by going as a family, we will show other families how nice it is. So well done. But I'm sure that you guys all did just as good work, and I'm sorry I couldn't share all of them. So anyone ready for the third book reading? I know I am. So just a little recap. So last week, as I mentioned, was I read the second chapter, Dreams of Olive Garden. So in that chapter, it's quite a long chapter, so it explains why Ernie has this dream in the first place. So I'm wondering, if you listened last week, if you can remember why Ernie had that dream. So the main reason was because his grandfather had that dream. So his grandfather inspired him, to have that dream. So he listened to the stories of his grandfather and how his grandfather loved Olive Garden. And then Ernie must have listened to that and thought, this sounds like a good place. I feel inspired to have the same dream. So I'm wondering if you guys have anyone who inspires you to have a similar dream. So let me think. So I could say that I am inspired by other authors like Roald Dahl. He inspires me to write because he is such a brilliant creative writer. And David Walliams and J.K. Rowling, all brilliant writers that inspire me and other writers to write their books. So you might want to be a brilliant athlete, and you might have particular athletes that inspire you. So anyway, just something you could have a think about. Is there anyone who inspires you to have a big dream like Ernie? So just have a think about that. Feel free to share it with me if you want to. So let's see what happens in the next part of Ernie's story. Okay, a cunning plan. With his overloaded rucksack on his back, Ernie sat on the steps near his house and waited, his shell straining under the weight. He was confident and knew without a doubt that he would make it to Olive Garden. He just had no idea how. All he knew for certain was that he needed to get to the river at the bottom of the hill. As he watched the sun rise over the housetops, he waited for an idea to come to him, but his mind was blank. An hour passed and still nothing. He pulled his sketch pad from his bag and began to doodle ideas. He was so deep in thought that he didn't notice a large pair of boots marching straight towards him. With one last step, they slammed down beside him. Ernie almost jumped out of his shell. So let me just show you. I really want to show you this particular picture. Okay, because we're going to be doing an activity on this picture. Okay, so if you just want to see a bit closer, I'll show it to you guys again at the end. Okay, let's find out what happens to Ernie. Dazed, he looked around, and to his shock, he realized that he was now millimeters away from being squashed. Nervously, he stretched his long neck up towards the sky, and there, towering above him, was a very large man. The slightest move from him, and Ernie would be as flat as a pancake. His heart pounded with terror. Then, without thinking, he grabbed his sketch pad, and with all his strength, he slid away as fast as he could. Seconds later, a dark shadow appeared above his head, blocking out the morning sun. Puzzled, Ernie looked up and gasped. Then he dived forward, slipped inside his shell, and rolled along the cobbled floor, just as a large cardboard box came crashing down behind him, sending Ernie flying high into the air. Ernie's heart was pounding. Inside his shell, it sounded as loud as a drum. He took a deep breath and poked his small head out to see what had happened. There beside him was a large box of vegetables. His mind raced as he tried desperately to think of what to do next. But before he had time to decide, he heard a loud knocking as the vegetable man banged on the door above him. A few seconds later, he heard the sound of a woman's voice as the door creaked open. Hola, buenos dias. I'm wondering if you know what that means. If any of you are learning Spanish at school. So it means, hello, good morning, said the man as he greeted her. Ernie shuddered. Being this close to humans was just not wise. I have to get out of here, he said to himself, beginning to panic. It is not safe. But just as he began sliding away from the box, an idea came to him. That's it, he shouted with excitement. That veggie box is the best way to the river. Bravely, he turned back and slid and slooped along the ground to the box as fast as he could. Anxiously, he listened as the humans talked above him, and the tiny hairs on his head stood on end. Once the woman had paid the man for her vegetables, Ernie knew he only had a few seconds before the box was lifted up and carried to the next house. He was almost there when the woman shut the door. Immediately, the vegetable man bent down, and once again the large shadow descended on Ernie's world. It was now or never. With one last push, he slid up the side of the brown cardboard box, clinging on with his best suction slime. Just as it left the ground, his adventure had begun. So well done. I told you it was a slightly short chapter. So great for listening. So I just want to answer a question that someone sent in to me. Let me just get it for you. So, and then we will talk a little bit about your activity and the awesome author tip that I have for you. So Amaya, who's been faithfully listening every week, so thank you, Amaya, has sent me a brilliant question. She said, what has inspired me to write books, particularly about snails? So I like snails. I think they're very cute. I think they're very unusual, and they are very squidgy, which is really great reason to like snails. But and they have an awesome shell, so it makes them a little bit better than slugs. But that isn't the reason I wrote the book about them. So I have a story about that. So I actually lived for a couple of years in the village that this book is set in. And one day I went to the vegetable market at the bottom of the hill in my village, and I brought a gorgeous box of vegetables, organic vegetables, back from the market, just like in the story. Carried them up the hill. It was a hot day. The box was heavy. Put them in the fridge. And later that day, when I went to cook with the vegetables, I opened the fridge door, and there before me was a snail, which really surprised me. But actually, I thought he's quite cute, so I'm going to keep him as a pet. I didn't have a pet, didn't have a cat or dog, and I thought a snail would make a good pet. So I plucked him off the vegetables and I put him in the plant pot, and that could be his home. And he stayed there for a while, and I named him Ernie. And then one day he just vanished. And I wanted to write a story, and I've been wanting to write a story for a while. And when he vanished, I started thinking, what's happened to him? And I started getting an idea of what might have happened to him. And that gave me the idea for the story. So I was inspired by something that happened to me in my life. So that gave me my idea for my story. And then since then, I just have been enjoying writing, continuing the story on in different books. And I'm now working on the third book called Revenge of the Thug Slugs. Okay, so I hope that answered your question. So thank you for your questions. And so I have an awesome author tip for you. So my tip today is short sentences. So I love short sentences. So I'm wondering if any of you noticed any short sentences in today's reading. I tried to emphasize them. But let me just have a look. I've picked out a few. So there's one here. Ernie's heart was pounding. Okay. Quick, short sentence. Another one over here. It was now or never. And one down the bottom. His adventure had begun. So the reason I love short sentences and why I am putting this as my tip today is because they are bold to write and they make your story sound awesome and exciting. Okay, so if you often in stories we have lots of long sentences with description and detail, and they are important, so don't forget those because they're important. But it's so good to change the pace of your story. It makes the story sound exciting. Okay, if you just have your story full of lots of long sentences, the person who's reading it is maybe going to get a bit bored sometimes and find it hard to read. So if you mix in there some short sentences, and you could even be as bold as have a 3-word sentence. Ernie was terrified, full stop. Okay, and what that does is just quickens the pace of the story. It makes it exciting, and it's also a great way of making a statement. Okay, so you don't have to add too much detail. Just a short sentence can really convey a feeling of impact and excitement, and it depends how you use them. So different ways convey different feelings. So also it's really good for action. So if you've got things happening very quickly, like Ernie slides into the box, his heart was pounding, quickly he ran away. Lots of short sentences create a feeling of excitement in the story. So don't be afraid to use short sentences occasionally throughout your story. Okay, so today's activity for you guys. So something slightly different as we're still on school holidays. So I'm hoping that you guys love drawing as much as I do. I think everybody likes drawing a little bit. So remember the picture? Okay, just have a close look at it. So this is Ernie's doodle. So I'm wondering if you guys could do a doodle for me. So if you could draw for me in your sketch pad or a separate piece of paper, it doesn't matter. But just like Ernie, he doodled, okay, his plan to get to the Olive Garden. Remember, he said he didn't know exactly how he was going to get there. He just believed that he would. So, but he did still draw some ideas. He had some idea. So it's up to you how you do this. Maybe you could decide that you're Ernie and you have a very clear idea of how to get to the Olive Garden. Okay, so you need to think about, what is the village like? Where is the river? Remember, he mentioned he needs to get to the river that has now started flowing again. How is he going to do that? Okay, is he going to go through a big assault course and a big adventure? What is he going to do? How is he going to travel? Okay, so that's really up to you what you do. And then at the bottom, it'd be great if you could put Ernie's notes to himself. So things that he needs to watch out for. So maybe dogs patrolling that like to eat snails, or boots that might squash him. Okay, so, and then also just some tips about things that he needs to do, or maybe you would like to write about his plan. First he does this, next he does that, then he goes down there. Okay, so something like that. So you could doodle and write what Ernie gets up to. And please don't forget to share them with me so I can share them with you guys next week. So send them to me as you have been already doing, because I love seeing your work and I'd love to see your drawings. I love drawings. So thank you so much for listening today, guys. And just a reminder that you can go on my website, and I have lots of story writing resources on there, which you can have a look at. And also, don't forget to like my Facebook page, which would be great. So you can keep up to date with when my book readings are happening. So I'm hoping now to change it twice a week as we go back to school next week. I just need to organize the dates. So I will be putting that up on Facebook for you to see. So that's the best way for you to know when the live book readings are going to be shown. And also my website is bethshepherd.com. So feel free to check that out if you want to find out more. So I hope you have a great rest of the school holidays, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.